Hello.
Hello and welcome. My name's Yile from Light Your Life, and I have Chilla and Rocco with me, and they are the founders of the European Healing Centre, and they're based in Auckland. And I have invited them to come down to Paikakariki, down this part of the world, to offer a family constellation workshop. And now that's just one of the things they offer. They offer an array of sessions and workshops and training, not only in New Zealand, but around the world. I guess you guys are traveling
Yeah.
around quite a bit now. But basically, all these things are helping you to access more of yourself, giving you practical tools to help you actually consciously create one's life. I guess that's essentially all these different, and that's the beauty. I love all these different modalities. They also do access consciousness, which is how I met these guys. Um, so if you guys want to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit more about, how you came across all these different healing modalities, and we'll come back to Family Constellation.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's very kind words. So she's Chilla.
I'm Chilla, and he's Roku.
Hello. So what should we know about Family Constellation, or how does it work? What is that? What in which way can it help you, or which way does it work for anyone? So maybe you heard about that. There is something like your ancestors, what they do, that can have somehow an effect on your life. Let's say, in some way, in many ways, we can pick up a burden from our ancestors. That is not a burden, but it's like an agreement on a spiritual level, where we say, okay, I would like to make it right, or I would like to fix it, what you have done or what you haven't done. But actually, it's not always the greatest choice that we can do. And the thing is, there are different levels of consciousness, or different levels of how we function from. And there is a higher level, let's say an universal conscience. And when we do such agreements from our end, that is against the universal conscience. So let's say there is such thing, and with the universal conscience, there is no such thing as polarity. There are no points of view, no judgment. So let's see just an example of what I mean by this. When, for example, you have, I guess not you, but when someone has problems with drinking.
Funny enough, I was just thinking about that. Not that I have a drinking problem.
And people try to stop and quit drinking or quit smoking, and they try to do everything, and they say, well, I did everything and I still can't. I really desire, but it doesn't really work. For some reason, I fail quitting.
Sure.
And what happens that, so when you come into this lifetime, you have all the tools for the things that are your burdens, your own cross. But you don't have the tools for other people's burden. It's not something that you have to pick on your shoulders and carry. But that's what we do with our ancestors' burden. We pick it up and keep carrying.
So it's like, can I just say, so it's like a subconscious, sometimes it's subconscious. So for example, I know, and then hearing we say about that, the drinking, I can just hear like a voice, like the mother's going, oh, you're just like your grandfather kind of thing. And then you're like, what? You're drinking like your grandfather does. And that you kind of subconsciously pick up these patterns. Yeah. Sometimes are helpful and sometimes are not helpful. I guess it's the ones that are, stopping people, that they've done all the healing or they try to stop, like you said, but it's not quite working for them. Is that, what's happening, and people come to Constellation to...
Yeah, so the thing is, people are coming with all sort of things that they would like to change or stop or start doing in their life. And for some reason, they always fail with that. And these things can be changed, because the thing behind it, it's not their own thing, but it's taken over from someone else in the family. or because it has to be represented, it has to be kept alive or kept alive on this level of life or in this dimension. It's in another way we can say that if something was rejected or made forbidden, let's say on the level of your grandfather, and let's say he was drinking a lot and all the family members were rejecting him or saying that you are not the right person in this family because you are drinking or playing cards and you lose the money or you beat your wife and all these things, it's not right. So what they do, they start with their judgment, and by rejecting the person, these qualities are rejected and sort of, but it's still these qualities like drinking and being this abusive or whatever, it still has a role. There is a reason why it's present on that level, but because of the rejection and being judged, it's sort of some way it disappears. It goes to the next or the third generation where it shows up again. But the thing is, it doesn't belong to that generation, but it has to stay present. It's like in a holographic world where there are different layers of that holograph.
Sure.
If you look it from the top, you see it's still the whole picture. If you look it from the side, you can see that it's not the same generation. It's like one or two generations down. But the energy, the qualities are still present. So from some level, it's good. And another level, it's not good. Because if we look into it, it's not good at that level of the ancestors, like the grandparents level, because they can't have that energetic harmony, like being acknowledged for who they are because they were rejected. And then the grandchild starts to do something that is rejected equally by the next generation or someone in that level. So therefore, he become also rejected and not part of the family in many ways. So one of the solutions here is giving back to where it belongs. And through that, we could honor the grandparents. And it's not just giving back, but starting to acknowledge each and every element, each and every members of the family, the grandfather as well, the grandmother who was beaten up, all the other family members at that level who were rejecting. And that starts to create a new balance that was required from the beginning. And
so the aim of the family constellation is to look for that balance, belonging,
and harmony. So there are two rules in the family system. Like this is a family system. It's energetically, it's a family system, and there is a question: who belongs to the family system? So all your ancestors belongs to the family system, your partner, and if you have children from your partner, then they also, plus if you have ex-partners and you have children from them, then the ex-partners as well and the children as well. And the belonging means that anyone who is part of the family system, they have equal right in belonging. There is no such thing that, if you are drinking, you are not a good family member. So therefore, from the level of 1, you go down to 0.8. It's either 0 or 1. It cannot be less or more or different from that. So when you are rejected, it goes to 0, sort of. Or when you are judged, it goes to 0. You are not a right family member. And that is totally against the system, the family system, the energetic system. And when someone does this rejection, then that quality that was rejected just jumps 1 or 2 generations and shows up somewhere else again.
Okay.
So this is the thing, that the right of belonging, that each and every family member has the right to belong to the family, no matter what they have done. They still belong to the family. But there is another rule in the family system, that is each person in the family who belongs to the family, they have a position inside the family. Here is an example. There are the parents and the child. And for some reason, the child starts to jump up or climb up to the parents' system, to the parents' level.
Yeah.
Also, they're acting as the parent where they should be the child.
Acting as equal as his or her parents. Like, all right, don't tell me what you are doing. I'm an equal part here. I'm an equal humanoid. And in some way, yes, we are all equal. But in the family system, there is a thing that who came first, that person contributed much more to the family. Therefore, they have a bit more right to be there. And who came later, they have less right to be there. They are less important because who came first, they placed down, they created much more, they had a much greater contribution in order to maintain the family, to stay or keep the family alive. So for example, like a grandfather is more important than a grandchild.
I see. So there's an order of the family, and I've heard this because I've been to a few myself, and so yeah, if the child playing the parent role, that is in they're looking after their parents or grandparents, and so there's an out of order scenario happening. Is that?
So, for example, if you look after your grandparents, it's a very nice thing. But there is another thing like acting like equal to the grandparents, or judging them,
or the parents,
or sort of growing over them. That is something that is against the rule of the family system.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's the same with siblings as well. There's like an eldest child, and
yeah. So there is a firstborn, secondborn, thirdborn. You know, in a family when there are more siblings, they start to fight that. Let's say the lastborn says, no, I'm equal to the firstborn, or I'm as strong, or I'm the strongest in the family. I have to be the firstborn. And it's just a big fight in the family, lots of family battles. And the interesting thing is, even those people, those children who were aborted, or for some reason there was a loss, died unborn, or born undied, or dead, or like an ectopic pregnancy, they all have an equal part in the family. They are part of the birth order. So for example, if there is a woman who made an abortion, and then there was a child who born after that, and there was another one who was like a miscarriage as a thirdborn, and there is a fourthborn who came to life with natural labor, then the firstborn, even if that was aborted, that person, that being is part of the family as the firstborn. And then the secondborn usually is treated by the parents as the firstborn. So what happens, it starts to pick up all the burden of the firstborn that was aborted.
Yes, I have seen this in the constellation works before, yeah.
And the thing is, people, the beings create an unseen bridge or bond with these things. Like they decide, okay, I will carry all your baggages, and I will have the same fate. I will have the same things that you would have done in this lifetime. I will pay for everything that you haven't, or anything that was cost to you. So yes, and this creates a lot of problem because people cannot live their own life. So for example, when in that situation, like about the drinking, when you have that same addiction as the grandfather had, you can't stop because it's not yours. And also you have this bond with the grandfather and you are not giving it back. But during a constellation, the amazing thing with the constellation that, you know, we don't need to know what happened in the family. That's the amazing part.
I think that's one of the questions I think people have asked. I don't know anything about my past. Like, it's a common question. Like, I don't know anything about my ancestral history. How can I, what's the point, kind of thing?
Yeah.
But that's the magic of family constellation, that you don't have to know the details, and it shows itself in what's called, I guess, the field. And could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So you mentioned the word the field. So what is that? Maybe people heard about the Akashic records. It's a Sanskrit word. And there are different definitions or words for this, like the ever-knowing field, or
the Akashic records.
Yeah.
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 We call it the morphogenic field. Yeah, the knowing field. I've heard different names.
Field.
Yes.
That, or the morphogenetic field as well. What is that? That anything and everything that ever happened to you and everyone else is recorded somewhere. And that's what in Sanskrit they call the Akashic records. And there are people who do Akashic reading, so they open up your records and can tell you what happened to you. What is the thing that is causing your problems or troubles. And what we do during the family constellation, we step into that field, we open up the field. And the thing is, the field itself is looking for harmony. It's looking for resolution. Mm. So when we open up this field, usually we work in groups of people. So, and in these groups, the people are called representatives. So, for example, how it works, let's say you come and you say, oh, I have terrible problems with drinking and gambling. I can't stop doing these things, but I would like to. Cool. And then we can ask, please, there are other people as representative here. They also have whatever they would like to work on. First, we ask them, are you happy to be a representative for Yilao? And then they say yes, or they can say no. You have equal right to say yes or no. There is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So this is the person that comes with the issue. They don't, what's the word? They sit on the sidelines, and this is what I find fascinating, so that they can watch and their issue or their limiting pattern being played out. So they have to choose, like you said, I have to choose a representative for me. I can't play me. I have to sit on the sidelines.
Well, it's so the way it works that so there is a facilitator. In this case, there are two facilitators like us. And there is a group of people, 6, 10, 15, 20, 25. And there is a big whole room. We sit together, let's say, in a circle. Someone sits, we ask the person, who is the next one? The person will sit in the hot seat next to us. So all eyes on her or him.
Yeah. You do get hot.
That's a hot seat, definitely. Yeah. And of course, we start with a few exercises to warm in, so people start to feel welcomed, and we create some space where everyone feel the warmth of connection. So even if people meet for the first time, they can have that level of bond and connection where they can have peace and in a relaxed state. And so the person tells the story, let's say, I have problems with drinking and smoking. Okay. And as a facilitator, we tap into the into this field and receive information whether the person in the hot seat should be represented by someone, or it would be a greater contribution if the person is not represented, but he or she himself would represent her or his own role.
Okay.
It's always, it's like a 50-50. What comes in that very moment? What creates more? Because for some people, they need to see as a third party what is the whole thing going on in their life. And for some, it's a greater contribution if they can experience from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And if someone starts from the very beginning in his or her own role, it doesn't mean that the whole constellation will go with she or he standing there, but maybe someone else will represent for a short moment, and then she goes back, and all these things possible. It's a very fluid, changing scene. So if the information comes, please choose someone to represent you. Then the person walks over, and we have a few exercises how you can become aware and sensitive to who you should choose, or how you know who to choose for a certain role. And it's really amazing because, most of the time people have never seen each other, so they don't know anything about each other. But let's say, okay, the instruction is that please choose someone who would represent your grandfather, or who would represent alcohol, or who would represent someone else. When you have a sense that, okay, this person feels like the right choice for
and
this.
it doesn't matter the gender. So if you want someone for your grandmother, and if it's a male, you can choose. It doesn't matter
Because
the energy is there.
That's an amazing thing. Yeah. The gender doesn't really matter, but the energy is somehow there in that person, and it doesn't really matter why, but it's there. So that person would be the greatest contribution in that role.
And I find that what you mentioned there as well is because you mentioned a person or a thing can represent an inanimate object, or in this case, it was alcohol. So it's put on the field, and the idea is to look at the relationship between those things and what's happening.
Yeah.
So I find it. I've seen it done different ways, and it's so fascinating how you can get more information.
Yes.
Yes, the main idea is that to provide the information and make it visible to everyone, not just to the facilitator, but to the person in the hot seat, either by experiencing it or by looking at it. And because that creates a change, that makes them, oh, now I see, now I can acknowledge that what I was choosing, what I was playing, what I was maintaining through all these years, or the choices that I was doing, that it wasn't even mine, but I was doing it for someone else. And because, if someone doesn't see that, then they can't choose something else.
Right. So it's like the subconscious becomes conscious, and then that awareness, I guess, of what is being shown to everyone in the group is like the aha moment. And then they can, I guess, have a choice from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
During the constellation, for the end of the constellation, usually there is always a transformation, a huge energy shift. So the client, goes through, really, really big transformation.
Because energetically, let's say all those burdens for all those years that the person was having can be shifted back or given back with that acknowledgement and the energy of honoring the ancestors, which is also another huge amount of energy that the person can start to receive, that blessing from the ancestors, which is just phenomenal.
Yeah. And I love it. I love this one, which is why I asked you guys to come down and do a class. And just sharing my own experience as well, that whole so you're not only freeing yourself, like I don't not only free myself, but it's also the people in my line, in my lineage. Mm-hmm. And examples that one of the things I tabled, if you like, is I didn't feel supported, but I kind of knew it didn't feel like it was my thing, but I just had this real strong, I don't feel supported, but I am. And so when we looked at it down my mother's line and my father's line, they both had situations where, well, for example, my grandfather was adopted, so there was he didn't feel supported in his own family. And then my mother's line, actually, there was a scenario where she had to be mother at a very young age, as a teenager, so it was like she didn't feel supported. So I had both mother and father line coming down, like not feeling that support. So that was kind of coming quite strongly, and it was creating the situation where I would attract people in my life that were not supporting me. And as soon as that was corrected, things just shuffled around in my life very quickly. And I felt supported, and it's just so instant.
It's like my example of that, I had that thing that, now we live overseas, and anytime when I turn on the TV or the news, watching what's going on in our home country, for some reason I started to feel so revolutionary that, I have to do some change. I have to stand in front of these people and lead them. What's going on? I'm not like this. And so, and when we went to a family constellation, I had this thing, and what came to the surface that my father's father, so there was a revolution in 1956, and he was, I don't know, protecting the mayor's house or something like that. And then they found like a revolver with him, so they put him on the train going to Siberia for Malenki robot, which means you don't come back ever. And, and he was rejected from the whole society. I mean, he wanted to be imprisoned and kept there. So, and the thing was that for my father, like for my grandfather, it was good.
He survived.
He came. Yeah. It was an amazing story how he survived it, and he came back like a year and a half later to his son, who is my father, and to the mother. But for my father, who was like 5-6 years old at that time, for him it was like a big trauma, and on a daily basis, he was telling me the whole story that, hey, your grandfather did this, and the whole system, the politics, and what they have done, and this was something kept alive, maintained by him. So it was amazing to see that, because on a daily life, it just became part of the whole family, like it was pressed on the family's daily life. And when I saw that in the constellation, that it's not mine, but my father's, and my father was kept it alive for the grandfather, but the grandfather was happy with that. He had the balance. And how it was given back to my father, and then suddenly, since then, I'm totally free. I don't have anything with that, no, nothing like that. Like, and it's quite a revelation that, oh my God.
Fantastic, and that's the beauty of what constellation can create. That for me, it was really, and it sounds like for you, it's that really noticeable change in one's life. And I wonder what other common questions they have. I know we've just joined online by Maria. Hello, Maria.
Hello.
Hello.
Do you have any questions about family constellation?
Do you have any questions, Maria, or are you happy to listen in? You might need to turn your microphone on, sweetie.
I just figured out how to turn my microphone. I don't have any questions. I joined a bit late. I just got back from the gym. So I'm happy just to listen in and pick up on what you guys are putting down.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Where were we at? One of the interesting things that people may ask, that, you know, if we have this constellation, if I'm a representative, what will happen to me after that, and what does it happen to me during that? Because one of the things is, yes, so yeah, just some information. How does it work for representative? So the representative is chosen for that role, and we do a small, quick exercise that helps the representative to become sensitive and to receive the information that comes down through the lineage. Because the thing is, you know, the representative most of the time never met the person, so have no idea about the person's family history.
And just a reminder for those watching, it's not like a role play. It's like we're tapping into the field of knowing. And it's for those that have done it for the newbies, it's quite an interesting sensation, because it's like, oh, you just know this information. You're like, whoa.
And it's not just, you know, but sometimes you say exactly the same sentence, or the same
mother would say.
Yeah.
And then the person, you know,
oh my gosh, that's exactly my mom. Oh wow, how do you know? I don't know. You know, this is just energy. You just follow the energy.
So the representative channels down the information and make it represented through their body, and they have a sense, they have a feeling or a need to say certain sentences which they wouldn't say normally. Yeah. But at that very moment, it's really meaningful, it works, it really creates the change. that's always what makes the next step. And why do we call it family constellation? Because it's like a stars constellation where the planets and the stars are moving around. So during the constellation, people are sort of constantly moving like the planets around, and they are
in the comfortable position.
Yeah, looking for that position that is the most harmonic for them.
Nice way of describing it. Yeah.
So what's happening during the constellation? Yeah, so these people, the representatives, follow the energy, and end of the constellation, we give back everything, but it doesn't belong to us.
So what it means that when you are a representative, the thing will not stay with you. Let's say if you were representing alcoholism, don't worry, it won't stay with you. It is given back to the family system where it belongs to.
Yeah.
But also, if you have problems with alcoholism and you are
represented this thing,
then you will contribute from that representation. So in your life, that will be resolved. And also, if you are not chosen as a representative, but still sitting in the circle, just watching, visiting it, you will still represent from all the things that you will still benefit from all the things that were represented during this constellation. It's also, amazing work.
Also, people who are, just sitting around, they are a huge contribution, and they hold the place for everyone else energetically. Also, they still are representatives. Yeah, unconsciously. Sometimes, during the constellation, if you see just outside and maybe, people sitting like that or a different position, that means something.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
Reading the meaning of it.
Yeah, we had constellation, and two people were sitting on the couch, and the feet were touching exactly like this. And it was a twin problem actually in the constellation.
Oh, wow.
And they both were sleeping on the couch like that.
Oh my goodness. I've heard of situations where...
it was a huge energy shift it was a very deep constellation. And, they were holding the place, and sometimes it's really tiring, so they fall asleep. It's not a problem with that. You can, when you are outside, even in the constellation as well. You can.
Well, that's a very good point, actually, that even if you don't sit on the hot seat, you're actually getting quite a lot of changes in healing, because there's more, as it always is in group work, there's some similarity or some similar patterning that's bringing up.
Yeah. We all have problems with parents, not exactly like
parents or
person, but something similar. Or money or body or health or anything. We all have something,
And that's it. We've talked about, and even though I know we're using alcoholism and gambling as a quite hardcore things, but it could be something like repeating bad relationships or confidence, that are lacking in confidence, or it could be like anything that is, I guess, creating limitation in someone's life that can be looked at.
Yeah, it can be like career-wise, like you would like to step up at your workplace, and somehow you don't have a role model for that. You don't know how to become a leader, how to be a leader, and however you would like to become a team leader, but you can't because you see so many limitations and you just can't do it. So, and that's an amazing thing that we can work with and create the shift and the change.
Yes, and sometimes, if you don't resolve, you feel it's not resolved exactly, in the field, because but the energy stopped. Maybe this is the greatest contribution for the person for that moment. You don't need to go always to the happy end, sometimes you just need to stop the constellation, and that creates a lot.
Like for some people, we have this point of view that it has to happen, it has to end with a happy end. But actually, no, it has to end with a way that creates the most in that very moment for that person. And for some people, if there is no happy end, but somehow it's stopped at a moment that looks sad or whatever, that can create the shift that makes them choose something much greater.
That is true. I guess such with life, right? It's never how it shows up and when and how it looks. And we have these expectations of what life should look like, and it doesn't always be that. And there's always an unseen greater choice, I guess.
Yeah.
That, creates more. Mm.
Yeah. So the amazing thing that some people really like it because some people likes to be in the hot seat. And also there are people who really hates to be in the hot seat. And they both will benefit from that, because if you don't like to be in the hot seat, you can be a representative. And during a day, if we have 3, 4, or 5 constellations, and you are a representative, or you are just sitting on the edge of the circle, you will benefit from all of that. And you don't have to show up in front of others. You are just, in the corner, just receiving all the change, and you are happy with that.
Yeah.
And also there are those people who are working very hard, and they receive as well.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It always, like I've been to quite a few, and it always works out. It's always perfect.
Yes.
So we had a question like, what have you ever dealt with anything like curses or karma or bad luck and things like this?
Yes.
Yes. I love it.
Yes, that was a very interesting constellation.
Yeah, we were in China actually.
Yeah.
On the 26th floor in a building.
Yes, and the lady started with that. I want my mom to die.
Wow.
And
that was the starting point.
Wow.
And
that's an
for
interesting.
that, you need to know that in China,
maybe she knows it.
Like having cursed or cursing it has quite a big, let's say, tradition. It's sort of, let's say, normal.
And her family, during the constellation, everyone cursed everyone. Oh my God.
It was like,
wow. Her mom cursed her father, and he died, honestly. Yeah, just, slap over on thing and died.
That's how it happened in life.
And it went back to the generations.
So it had a long tradition in the family that everyone resolved their problems by cursing each other.
Wow.
And when the curse was represented, maybe you have seen those ghost movies when the double door just...
and you feel something is coming,
And that's what just happened. We had a double, huge big wooden doors.
Really, it's very solid and just opened up.
Wow.
You could feel something is there.
Yeah, temperature just went down.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, okay, so let's do it. Let's do something here. Yeah, so in the field, it was really shown, and we wanted to finish it.
But it's not about...
But we couldn't finish, honestly, because
not that way. I mean...
Not that way.
So what she means by we wanted to finish it so there are ways of creating that change, and there are... So when you see that it's too dangerous for the representatives, let's say it would become too dangerous, or
someone is too sensitive for this kind of
work,
stuff,
then you can decide to stop the work somehow,
or give back the representation.
Change the representative to someone else to replace them. So and there is no problem with that. But the thing is, we didn't have more representatives, so there was no such thing as replacing someone.
Everyone was there.
Yeah, everyone was used in some way. And also there was the energy of the field was so strong that it wanted to keep moving.
And it was a clear sign, don't stop, please finish it, because it has to finish now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
when you say finish, as in have resolution around the person.
Yes. And that means to have a resolution.
And
the whole family system was requiring that change, that breakthrough, to stop this tradition, stop this type of dealing with each other.
Yeah. Sure.
And the amazing thing was there was how to say, so that there was a really peaceful end, or we get to a state where it was sort of finished and complete, and resolved. And if you know, in Beijing, you can't really see the sun very often because there is some level of pollution.
Pollution, yeah.
Yeah. And the next morning,
the next 2 days, it was clear.
Crystal clear sky everywhere in the city. It was beautiful change.
And yeah, the people around us, they just wondering, oh my gosh, because you can't see the sky. You could see the blue sky.
Because the thing was, it wasn't just for that family. So it wasn't,
we did a contribution for everyone else who had the same issue.
I forget that. That's the powerful thing. It's like you're not only doing it for yourself, for your ancestors, you're doing it for the people around that have that pattern in society.
Yes.
So there are with family constellation, there is a possibility to go beyond the family system level and go out to the universal level where you can serve a much greater purpose.
Yes.
And when there is a need or when there is the calling, it can be done. It's not something that we selfishly decide that how we will do it, but when there is a possibility, it can create a huge.
And that's what I've learned from the facilitators as well, that knowing field always shows what's ready to be dealt with and ready to resolve, and that's the beauty of it.
So even when someone says, I would like to change it, there is something energetically behind their words. So maybe they don't really have ready for that level of change. So during the constellation, we can go to the edge, how far they are willing to go with their change. And that's okay. We can't force it because the person, that is how much the person can receive, and that's how it goes at that moment. But it doesn't mean the person will not be able to go further next time. And we don't have to judge, we really shouldn't judge how far one can go or willing to go, because how to say, we are there to facilitate a change that actually the family system is requiring.
Yeah, that's it.
Asking for.
Yeah. Because it is unlocking a lot in the whole system. And it's like, for me, what I gather is that gentle approach, or whatever the people involved can receive, it kind of dictates the pace of that change, I guess, and whatever's, I guess, gentle on our own body systems as well, right? Because there's some physical changes sometimes as well.
Yeah, so there are different ways of constellations. So we can do constellations on these, let's say, mental things or emotional things, but also on physical things like physical diseases and illnesses. Like, okay, I have this disease and I would like to change it, or I had enough and I don't know how to. Can you please help with that? So at least I can look at it, or I can see where it comes from, or what I'm doing when I'm choosing this.
Yeah.
So I wonder what else we can share. How are we doing for time? We just kind of gone over, or Maria, do you have any more questions?
Yes?
Yes or no?
Yes, I know. Yes, I do.
Yeah, we just can't hear you.
Can you make it a bit louder somehow?
My volume is up, is high. Can you hear me?
Very weak.
So just a reminder, whilst Maria is typing, so the workshop is on 9th of May in Pakakariki Community Hall, St. Peter's Hall, at 6 till 9:30. And to book, that's a Facebook page, or contact me on hello@yileilau.com. I'll leave the details somewhere on the links. But it's important people register. What will it take for people to register? Yeah, well, it's kind of just getting the field is still changing, I guess, as we talk, as we call it, so that all the appropriate people who are meant to be there will be there.
Yeah. The great thing is people come and they think they are coming with their own problems, and actually there is a whole big family system is pushing them. Please, I want to be resolved. We all want this to be resolved. Please go there.
I'll come with my whānau. Like,
that's how it works. It's so amazing.
Yeah.
And also sometimes we do a constellation, like let's say on a national level or a much wider scale, when we work with, let's say, issues that are national or international things, if the energy is there for that. Yeah.
Okay, so we have Maria's question is, what's coming up for me is that I see patterns and behavior in my parents that I feel I want to clear, that I see being passed on to my brothers and sister. Is this possible? Or does it have to come from them?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for that. So the thing is, if that's not yours, it's like you would like to help someone, and what you do, you just create another bond that someone will pay for that, and and if not you, and so when people would like to help others, it's really great. There is only one way or one situation when you can help others. That's if you are a mother or father and you have a child that is under age 18, then you can work on their situations. But primarily, you can only work on yours. So for example, if you have a parent who has a disease or many problems, you cannot work on your parents' problems, but you can work on how you are connected to them, how you can have peace with them, and how you can receive more from them. So it's always your relation to others, not other people's relation to something else.
Okay, yeah.
This is what we can do in family constellation. Because there is no calling from the father, like the father doesn't want to change and you try to change, it doesn't really work. Or the brothers, siblings, they don't want to change. You can change your part. You can add your part into the picture or create a change there.
Yeah. Even
that you have to choose.
If someone brings someone with first,
usually partners,
and
couples,
he doesn't want to really change or do anything, but it's just going
when the wife brings the husband,
and it's not working. It won't work at all because the other person doesn't want anything, doesn't want to change.
It's not just doesn't want to change, like when, let's say, you are a wife and pulling in the husband for that constellation.
Let's do something.
So what is that? And from one end, it's a judgment that my husband is stupid or there are problems with my husband and this will help. In a relationship, both of us are involved. We all have our things. So there is no such thing that the other person is wrong and I'm right. So there are a lot of dynamics here. And really, if there is something in your life, then please bring it. If there is something in someone else's life, they have to bring it. This is how it works. And if that person is under 18 and your child, not someone else's, then it can still work. Yes, it's good. If you're a foster parent, you can bring your child under age 18 as well. So these are the options here. And if you have a situation that I haven't mentioned here as an example, please send us a question and then we can figure it out, whether it's a yes or a no, we can work or not.
Yeah, that is a good question. That's quite a common one people come with, like they always mention someone else and they want to sort it out for them, but we can only sort out our perspective and relationship with those we mention.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you so much for the question. It's really great. Thank you for that.
Anything else? Quiet. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you both come to this area. And if Maria, because I think you're in Auckland at the moment, I can see you're on a boat. That's just super. So if you are coming down this way or know anyone that's living in this area that would love to come along to experience it, I highly recommend it. Please let them know about it.
So
like I said, I've been on
the 9th of May from
6
to 9:30 or approximately. It depends.
So Wednesday, 9th of May, it'd be good to know as soon as possible.
So that's in Paikakariki, right? And they can contact.
Yeah, we will send out the recording anyway, and we will put all the details there. And.
Fantastic.
Cool.
All right. Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
your time, and thank you, Maria, for joining.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and have a lovely evening, everyone.
And thank
And
you.
hope to see you soon in live.
Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.